neighbors were talking, and there's a man and a woman, and they were standing on opposite sides of the street. Mm-hmm. And they were just having a conversation like we are having now. But you can't do that when you're standing that far apart. And I think I'm really afraid that when this thing is over, if it's over, that's another question. If this pandemic is over, what kind of permanent damage is it going to do to the connections that we have? You know, I have a blog and a podcast, and because of that, a reasonable number of people send emails to me. And I can't tell you how many people say, for the first time, I'm understanding the person I'm living with, and I don't like him or her. Wow. You know what I mean? That's terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how much of a scar this stuff is going to leave on us. I mean, beyond the terrible, people who are dying and everything, but, I think there's a little bit of American that's dying too.
Yeah.
Trey, you're a good interviewer. You throw a question out and then you shut up and let the guy on the other end mouth off.
That's what I've always done.
Well, that's a good interviewing technique.
Absolutely. You can talk on as long as you need to,
Well, good. What are you doing for the next 3 weeks?
Busy. I do interviews 3 days a week, and it's fun. That's become my work ethic. I do one Monday, one Wednesday, one Friday, and sometimes I do one on the weekends, either Saturday or Sunday.
And you have a studio at home?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, that's terrific. I was a program director for a little while, and I hated that, but it was what I had to do. And I used to like to do remotes a lot, and this was at a station in Boston, and I remember the only way you could do a remote live broadcast was by hiring a special line, because you couldn't use a line like we're on right now on the telephone, because the frequency response isn't good enough. And there was only one place in town that you could rent a broadcast quality line, and that was AT&T, because they had a monopoly on it. Mm-hmm. And I used to rent broadcast line for, I don't know, 4 figures, sometimes 5 figures, just to broadcast from one place in the city to another. A few months ago, one of my granddaughters came over with a smartphone, and it had a FaceTime on it. You're probably familiar with FaceTime.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we had a 3-way color TV conversation with another of my granddaughters who is now working on Okinawa in the Pacific Ocean. And it was free. Amazing. You live in a wonderful time.
Yeah, I agree. Technology has helped me a lot with my show and other endeavors I've done with voiceovers and narration. And
what kind of voiceovers have you done?
I've done some radio promos for other shows, like bumpers, and let's see, I've done a few character voices. That's not really my forte, character voices. I'm mostly just a narrator, and
because I've done a lot of voiceovers too, and I enjoy it.
Oh, I do too. It's wonderful. It's because I don't do a lot of theater anymore because of the pandemic, and voiceovers kind of remind me of my old theater days,
Yeah, well, it's called voice actor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as you very well know.
Absolutely. And I enjoy interviewing. I just like talking to people. But in reality, if you would meet me in person, I'm very shy. Very shy.
Well, some of the best people in broadcasting are also shy. You probably don't know the name Bruce Bradley, but Bruce and I worked together at WBZ for quite a while. And the program director at WBZ liked doing remotes. In fact, we had a broadcast trailer. We called it the Sundeck Studio. Mm-hmm. And the order was that you do your radio show. People are watching. Then when the news went on from the studio, from the regular home studio, they did the news, and the guy on the air was supposed to go outside and sign autographs for the people who were there watching the show, mm-hmm. which makes sense when you think about it, you know. But what Bruce used to do was, as soon as the broadcast line would go back to the studio for the newscast, instead of going out and signing autographs, Bruce would hide in the closet, and he was just an excellent broadcaster. He was smart and funny, and you know, all the things that you kind of have hope for in a broadcaster. And you know who else was very shy? You're probably going to find this surprising. Wolfman Jack.
Oh, wow.
Was kind of shy.
Wow.
Yeah, he was kind of shy. There's a chapter about Wolfman in my book, by the way, and he was just a very nice guy. He was from Brooklyn, and so was Bruce Morrow. Was also for quite a while. NBC Radio had three guys from Brooklyn: Bruce Morrow, Wolfman Jack, and Dick Summer, and you know, two of those three guys made a lot of money. The other one got by. But in any event, it's not unusual for somebody who is very shy. It's like putting my white hat on. I become story man. I feel like a different guy. So don't be upset because you're really a shy guy. A lot of guys in broadcasting are shy guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I read about that. I read a story recently about the great Johnny Carson, you know, the host of the Tonight Show.
Oh, yeah.
And he was very shy. He was very shy around a group of people, you know, 2 or 3 people. But once he would hit that stage on the Tonight Show, he was there. He was focused. He was Johnny, you know.
That's right. Well, that was a little bit like when the mic light went on for me. I really became, I don't want to say, well, yeah, I don't know if I was a different person or what, but it was very, very focused. You know, I tend to be a little bit scattered in my thinking a lot of times. You may be too. I think a lot of guys in radio are that way. But it was a little bit like when I used to I'm a pilot, and I used to have a little airplane. And when I get in the airplane, I was like a different guy. Everything was very focused on what was going to happen next. You know, you run the checklists, and you do things in a particular way. And it was like that when I was on the radio, too. So it's interesting, I think.
Absolutely, and I think that way too. Because I have high-functioning autism, it's a form of special needs, and my thinking is very scattered, but very focused at the same time. I stay on one subject, and I'm focused on that, you know, and whatever comes next, I think about that after I do what I'm currently doing.
Yeah. Are you a savant, Trey?
A what?
A savant. A lot of times people who have autism have like two sides to their personality, and one side is just absolutely brilliant. And I'm just wondering if that might be what goes on with you.
Well, I guess when I'm not doing acting or radio or I'm very creative. I've done writing, painting. I do a lot of painting and a lot of clay molding, pottery, and woodworking and stuff. And that's what I do when I don't do radio or acting. But when I'm out in public with people, I'm an introvert. I'm very, like I said, shy. And but once I'm by myself or with other creatives, I shine. I connect. And
that's terrific. That's terrific. And as I said, never be upset because you're shy. Awful lot of very, very good people in broadcasting are shy. A lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've interviewed a few disc jockeys that told me the exact same thing. They're shy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good.
My next question to you is, what do you find is the most challenging part or the most difficult part about being in radio?
Right now, it would be finding a job that is interesting. Well, you know very well that it's just not what it used to be. I mean, it's right now, it's all mechanical. And one of the few guys who did theater of the heart in a way just died, and that was Rush Limbaugh. Mm-hmm. I didn't like Rush, but I admired what he did in this business. He single-handedly saved AM radio, and he just changed the way everybody did stuff. So that was a big loss. Another guy who does that, I worked with at NBC was Don Imus. Mm-hmm. When I knew Imus, he was a pothead. It's a story about him in my book too. By the way, my book is called Staying Happy, Healthy, and Hot, and it is available at Amazon.com, and that's what I call a shameless plug. Anyway, he was a real jerk when he was at NBC in New York, and when he got fired, because he got fired we called it the Pittman Purge. I told you about that. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the guys who got fired in the Pittman Purge. And then, as you probably know, the next step for him was becoming a conservative talk show host. And he got to be a real power in American politics. So, it's an interesting life, this radio life.
Definitely, absolutely.
So you're glad you're in it?
Oh, most definitely. I can't imagine what I would not do if it wasn't radio. Because I started, started in theater first, but I think radio is where I learned the passion and, felt more comfortable with that,
Good for you. Keep it up. How come you got into theater?
Well, I was always interested in acting, and it just seemed interesting. And I gave theater a shot, and I enjoyed it very much, being in front of an audience and seeing their reaction and making people laugh and smile. And I like doing that, making people feel happy and giving them a laugh. And
you paint too, huh?
Yeah, not very good at painting, but I enjoy doing it.
Well, that's the important thing. I'm going to send you another piece that I wrote called Painting Poetry and Passion, and it's kind of a strange... I do a lot of writing. As a matter of fact, I have several books out, and I used to use some of the stuff that I wrote on the air, theater of the heart, and got me into a lot of trouble because most radio stations or networks are run by guys, as you know, and